I would thoroughly enjoy a video on your thoughts on saddle marks and other assorted white spots. Have you seen or know anything about white marks? They look more like pinfire marks than from getting made by gear. They run along fairly close to the spine on both sides, starting farther back than the withers, continuing almost over the kidneys. Yeah. So, only theory I've heard is from a sure enough old cowboy who said they were starve marks. Yeah, they're starve marks. If they've got not necessarily perfectly straight across from each other, but marks across from each other, running down their spine almost to their kidneys, those are starve marks. Or that's what I've always been told. It's from horses that were malnourished at some point, and they get those starve marks. I don't know why. I don't know biologically what happens to cause those little white marks to come up, and they're tiny. They're little bitty tiny white spots. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't hurt anything. A horse that's been hungry, once they get fat once, they stay fat for the rest of their life. So that's that. Now the rest of the white marks, I think probably everybody knows this, but that means I'll talk about it. A white mark on their back from the saddle, whether it's on their withers or any other part of their back. Old gelding's chasing the baby off. Whether it's on their withers or any other part of their back, that's a dry sweat mark. What that means is that there was enough pressure from the saddle pushing down on the back that it killed a little bit of that flesh right there, and that white mark comes back as a scar. And so that there's deadness under there, there's dead flesh under there, dead nerves, whatever, but it is from pressure. That's what those white marks are from. It's from the pressure from the saddle, and that could be because the saddle's not a good saddle. The maker didn't make it square. It could be a perfectly good saddle, but the rider rides funny. Maybe has an old injury and rides with more weight on one side than the other. Rides one stirrup longer than the other, something like that. There's a whole variety of reasons why there could be this pressure. It also could be that the horse was ridden too hard when it was too young, in the sense that the body hadn't elongated yet, and so the shoulder blade of the horse rotated under that saddle because the horse hadn't matured yet, which caused the white mark. And like I say, it's a scar. There's a whole variety of reasons for those white marks, but they all come down to the same reason, is that there was too much pressure in one spot and it caused a scar. And so that's what those white marks really are, is scars. There's there's a lot of people that, and it's relatively sound thinking that if one doesn't have a white mark on it, then they're probably not very broke, haven't been rode very long. I've heard that before. On the other hand, I used to have a saddle that I could saddle a horse and tie it in the sun with that saddle on 3 days in a row and never ride it at all, and it'd cause them to have a white mark. It was just a bad saddle. So whether they have a white mark or not doesn't necessarily mean they're broke, but an old horse with a white mark, you can probably guess that they've been rode quite a bit. What else do I have to say about white marks? A lot of people, in order to prevent that kind of thing, they over pad their horse, and so they've got, it looks like a bedroll underneath their horse. Well, there's been a lot of studies done that more pads actually increase the pressure being focused in one spot, rather than what we think it's doing. It looks like it alleviates the pressure and spreads it out. The fact of the matter is that thicker pads actually cause pressure spots to focus even more. So the less pad, the least amount of pad you can possibly get away with is your best decision always, and of course a good saddle. Now, I was told my whole life that once they have a white mark, they'll always have a white mark there, and I've seen it happen by riding a horse differently and in a different saddle and under different conditions, that one spring that horse will shed off, and where there was always a white mark, all of a sudden it's gone. I don't know exactly what went on for that horse to heal and for that scar to go away, but it can happen. Other than that, white marks aren't anything really to worry about. It doesn't necessarily mean that your horse will have to go to the chiropractor more often, or their back's hurt, or they're this or that, or anything. All it means is that their back was hurt once. At some point, they've been pinched to the point where there's a scar there. Otherwise, I don't worry about it.
So much to the Patreon crew. You guys are the reason we're able to do this and do the extra things and really do all the YouTube videos too. We wouldn't be able to make it work without you guys. So thank you so much. And any of the rest of you, you can jump on and watch any of these extra kind of things that we do on Patreon and see what's going on there. So check that out if you can.